I'll just share. So for me, from my side, we realize that if you order from a tier 2 or tier 3 town, okay, we realize that typically a driver or a maid, the bus driver, the guy who drives you to the last mile, they do not know that they have bad eyesight. And so therefore, if you order a pair of glasses, we also send another pair of glasses. It's a very basic, rudimentary one, but it's typically targeted at people who have myopia, where you can at least adjust and get to the right power. So what happens is that it's a pilot. We've seen that there's an adoption for these because families, when they get the glasses, we have a simple note to say, try this on for your help. So whether it's a driver or a maid. And they realize that most of the people don't know that they lack perfect eyesight. And that's the simple initiative that we're doing. We see the adoption, and therefore we want to start cascading this to the metro areas as well. So for us, it's basically organizing and therefore helping people see better. Question behind.
Good evening. I'm Harsh Arya from JBM Group, an auto component manufacturing conglomerate. Very less has been said as far as manufacturing sector is concerned, except Colonel raised some point. My point is that flexibility we have been talking about. So how to bring flexibility in manufacturing sector as far as uniform and timing, flexi timings are concerned. In manufacturing sector, we have, A, B, C shifts and taking over assembly lines. So where no one can, take option to come 2 hours late, 3 hours late. So how to deal with the flexibility timings in manufacturing, Gurgaon being the hub for manufacturing companies. And as far as uniform, so in a lot of manufacturing companies, there are uniforms. You are talking about casual dresses and formal dresses, but uniform also brings the uniformity and pride in the company. So what do you say? My question mainly is to Samir. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I started my career with Britannia, which is an FMCG company, and I started at a plant in not very far, Lawrence Road. I can relate to you because I walked into time office at that time. And when I spoke about the context, I think it's important that in that context, because we had assembly line, making bread, cake, biscuits. If you were 10 minutes late, you were asked to go back home. Simple. 11th minute, you were asked to go back home because if you were 10 minutes late, someone else will do overtime for 4 hours and you can come after half a day, but not before that. Because if you are not there, assembly line, it will crash. Somebody will not be there and all. So I humbly say that it needs to be all these things which I said, because I said it right in the beginning. It needs to be applied in the context. Honestly, that was the time, and we still have manufacturing as part of Ericsson as well. I think some of those assembly line, it's difficult to do it. And again on uniform, and I can give from Britannia context when I used to work a long time back, is because, again, if I look at, like I spoke about Maslow's hierarchy, at a basic level, because when you're dealing with workers, at times it could be somebody not getting dressed appropriately because the person doesn't have the means to do it. So as an organization, I kind of still believe it was all right to give the uniform and to ensure, because you want to meet certain, especially food manufacturing, you want to meet certain norms. We also used to give cap and we used to give various other things so that you don't have any hair particle, etc. going. So to your question, sir, I think flexibility needs to be in the context of where you can apply. Over there in assembly line, at least I honestly do not think I would have applied it or given it. I would have given flexibility in other terms, which is engaging the workforce, engaging them, having painting competition, having and I've been part of that, where the workers having painting competition, the pride that they would see in their sons or daughters painting being displayed outside time office, and I used to sit right over there. They would come and though we used to do prize, but we would display all the paintings, and they would feel the pride just by the painting being displayed, or us making it into a calendar format and giving it. So I think at that level, it's more of the engaging with them through their family that made more sense for me, in my humble view.
I am also from the same shoe, the auto sector. the one graduate engineer or management trainee is coming, he's telling him, my batchmate is getting Friday dressing, Saturday off, and all that thing, and you bloody are getting the 6 days, that to the 10 hours job, assembly line, we're the same college or things like that. That Arya Sahib is responding, and that to the Gurgaon, where the one side is Google and another side is JBM, with the same oxygen, the different culture, how to handle the millennium. That the challenge is Arya Sahib is tackling.
Correct. And this is why when I said about context, you have to apply to your context. And at times the context will say that it is not to be applied. So the point I was making was in the time office and you have assembly line, you don't want it to drop. And hence, I'll be honest about this, when I went, I joined as a manager, assistant personal manager. When I went, first day it happened to me that I walked in at 9:11 against a worker walking in at 9:11 who was asked to go half day. I kind of, in my own internal mind, I said, oh no, I can't be doing that. Because as a manager, they didn't tell me to go back home or anything. But it's the realization. And it's the realization that each manager over there at Britannia that time then had, that we have to then apply the same rules to ourselves. Because if I'm expecting the same from the worker, I jolly well apply it to myself. And you have to, like we said, lead by example. And how guilty I will feel by having the same guy going back and me going and working. Absolutely not on. Yeah. So there, my point, you need to have those people who are then living that ethos and working on this. Otherwise, what's the point?
So can I now just allow one last question from the group, because I think, okay, last two questions. So there's a lady over here in front and a gentleman in front. Last two questions, please.
Then should we slice and dice the data? And I'm sure you would relate it back to your respective organization. The engagement level actually drops at the mid-manager and leadership level in comparison to your colleagues who've less tenured. And that's a trend I've seen in the few years I've worked on this space. So I'm worried.
What drops?
Engagement level.
The leadership engagement. So I'm comparing, your lesser tenured versus more tenured, and the trend seems to be on the tenure as increases, the engagement level seems to drop. Even the response rate is dropping in most cases, and I've seen compared notes with other peers to correspond and agree to this. So I'm worried that as an organization, we seem to be missing out on two big stakeholder group. One is this whole paradigm of leadership engagement, and the second paradigm I'm worried is around contract force. So a lot of organizations are moving into contractual workforce, and they are out of scope for some of these engagements and drive per se. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts as a group. What do you think about these two things? Thank you.
So can you just help me, can I help rephrase? Are you saying that leadership is disconnected when it comes to engaging with the larger organization?
Engagement level is, so if you do the engagement score comparison at a mid to senior level, there is a relatively lesser amount of engagement in the leadership pool itself.
Okay. And the second part, so just
contractual workforce.
What about the contractual workers?
A lot of organizations are keeping that workforce segment out of scope for a lot of our drives and initiatives.
Okay. Would anyone want to answer that?
Professor, to take the leadership engagement.
Oh, my answer would be very theoretical. So
Yes, I think you should have from you your view, because I think that's.
No, I can only hypothesize that your question pertains more to large organizations, and as the organizations sort of expand both horizontally and vertically, the disengagement is a bit of a correlate of that. And I would doubt if that is happening in smaller organizations. With respect to the contractual workforce, listen, I ran if you call an education institution a business, I did run one where about 30% of my operating workforce was contractual. Again, it could relate to culture, but a bit of a legacy, but we were very picky about who those people were. There was deep engagement even among that workforce. But if you want me to sort of look into the crystal glass, with technology coming up, people are talking about automatons and I personally think that as organizations grow larger, Probably it's unfortunate, but it would, people will look to automate more process or more rote exercises, jobs. And I really don't know what the future of engagement in that. I'm being brutally honest with you.
Sure.
So I'll attempt to answer. So I know the contingent labor, contingent workforce forms the predominant workforce in most manufacturing and large organizations. In fact, the largest employer of contingent workforce is actually the government,
Right.
firstly. And I can speak from an industry point of view that I guess the hesitation which comes, and I admit to a certain extent, there's some very mature organizations which reach out, okay, because I think they have very clear approaches to how far or what's the intent or what do we do when we engage with the contingent workforce. But I think the hesitation that they have is, we've employed you as a contingent labor, or we've employed you as contract labor. Therefore, as a contract labor, there's a timeline to till what time do you serve, or till what time do you serve in the organization. It's a tough question to answer because the supplier or the provider does his own bit of engaging, whatever in very limited means, through statutory compliances and giving what is due. But I think the hesitation that we have is that when we engage or we reach out from the organization to the contingent workforce, you therefore raise an expectation that the contract or the timeline of employment stops, and therefore you have a leading sort of a rope or an anchor for that person to be associated. Now, it may not be a right answer, but that's a thinking which I'm having right now.
Just to add on to the middle management piece, if you look at what Calvin was sharing between rewards, pride, and career, for middle management, I think the career takes a larger look, because as you look at the organization pyramid and at the top level of the leadership that you're saying, which the engagement levels start to drop, that whole big question about what's next for me and can this organization make that next happen starts to be very, very paramount at that level. The opportunities dry out, and for a lot of people, what happens is there starts to be a mismatch, which the organizations do a very bad job of discussing and bringing to the table, is the aspiration that the individual has and the way the organization views the potential of that individual. That mismatch of potential and aspiration, and to have that honest conversation, leads to a lot more disengagement when coupled with the question to say, what's next in it for me, and will this organization be able to fulfill that? And that's where at that level, you do see a drip, because when you're growing in the other part, that the question gets answered faster. That's my take on it.
So just a quick one on contingent workforce. Two things we do which I think helps. One is technology. So we use technology for learning and connecting with them as far as we can. And the other thing is similar to what we do engagement in terms of surveys, etc. with our workforce, we also do with the contingent one. On a similar lines, because we listen to them and then we try to act on that. Just those two quick ones.
Thank you.
Last question. Sir. Okay. One last question to you, and we'll close. Yes. No.
Good evening all.
Actually.
Myself, Nageshwar Rao. I'm from Green Lab Industries Limited. I just wanted to have your views on employee engagement of a millennial from a manufacturing company, balancing with the workload.
Balancing it with the
Workload.
workload.
Yeah.
So let me understand that. Engaging the millennial workforce in manufacturing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It was the same.
Would anyone want to attempt?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I think you'll have to rephrase the question. We're not getting the question.
Yeah. Employee engagement of a millennial in a manufacturing company, balancing along with the workload and a daily workload. As Samir sir has explained regarding this assembly line and employee engagement for that factory employees and all, and how to engage the employees who are in manufacturing sector, particularly for our millennials.
Particularly for millennials.
Particularly for millennials. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I'll try and attempt to answer that. You can step in as well. I think again, a lot depends on context. Also, a lot depends on the workforce that you have. Yes, there are people who are entering the manufacturing space at this point in time. I think the principles of engagement will be the same. It doesn't matter whether you're in manufacturing or whether you're in technology or whether you're in e-commerce. The cohort or the demographic is the same, and I think the approaches would be the same, and I think the drivers would be the same, except that they may not belong to a sector which, it's visible within the workforce, like the corporate office. So that's my response.
I'll add on to it. I think it's about deliver what you promise. Don't go to an engineering college or a business school and say we are a fun workplace if you are not a fun workplace. Don't go and say we let you wear whatever you can just because you want to attract talent at that stage. Be realistic about it. If you have a uniform, say uniform is pride and correlate uniform with pride and take that. As long as you deliver what you promise, I don't think that will be an issue from a millennial perspective because they understand what they're getting into and they are very clear about
Setting
their
the
choices.
expectations,
I think the mismatch is when organizations in a bid to attract talent start to overpromise what they can't deliver. So that's the choice because millennials are very, very intelligent. If they've decided to make a career in manufacturing, they have their own view of what life would be, and it would be different from an IT-enabled company or a fintech organization. But I think that gap has to be very, very realistic and not a mismatch.
I'm taking back I said last two questions, so two individuals have been raising their hands time and again. So there's sir in front of here, and there's a lady. So after the two of you, we close the questions. Please. You, sir. Okay. Yes, please, ma'am.
My name is Hansa Sachdev and I work with Bridge. It's clear that your organizations have evolved to keep pace with the aspirations of the workforce. My question is, how have the benchmarks for measuring engagement changed during this period? And what are the new benchmarks that organizations use to see how well they are building employee engagement? My question is largely to Amit and to Samir.
I think this whole thing about engagement, what we call engagement surveys, used to earlier be called employee satisfaction surveys years ago. So, and there's a phrase that came, say, stay, serve, that a lot of the ones who use it, which is Gallup or Hewitt earlier who used it, and they started introducing that. So I'm just talking about purely from a survey perspective because if that's your intent. And then I think how it's evolved is now to a level of impact analysis, which is to say that if you have got top 3 things, as Kelvin said, and if you focus on, say, career development, it will have X percentage increase on your engagement scores. So just on a purely a bit theoretical statistical point, that's the level of which the employee satisfaction surveys has come to the employee engagement surveys to say, this is your top 2 things. If you impact, this will have a X percentage impact on the scores which is there. Having said that, touch wood, we are quite fortunate over the last 5-7 years. Our scores have been roughly in the late 80s on the engagement indexes. And I think the key thing for us is really in terms of the action planning. Once we hear and constantly be in touch with our workforce, I think that's really the key for us. Going back and saying, what have we heard? What are we doing about it? And how it's not only us as a management, but the managers also really taking a stake and involving the employees in terms of what changes we want to make. So that's just on the softer side, but on the technical side, it's come a long way from satisfaction to really not only how long I stay in the organization, but what do I say to others and how do I encourage others to join the organization? That's the broad parameters on which it's gone.
So I'll tell you how it's changed for us. From a nomenclature perspective, it's moved from employee engagement to voice of Aviva. So that's what we call is voice of Aviva. That's the the iconic shift that you'd see from a statement perspective. But I think what has also changed is obviously there is a participation rate which is always you talk about and what's your in the end the engagement number. But I think what has changed is both your internal analysis of what comes out of it. You want to slice and dice the data more to know exactly what segment is saying what, to what you do with it. Like for us, what has changed is employee engagement survey has now led to stay interviews into the organization. Because we also want to know that people who are giving us positive feedback, what is making them give that positive feedback so that we can build onto it. Just focusing on what is negative has moved on to saying, I'm going to also focus on what is my strength. And I think that viewpoint has changed. What is my strength? How do I recognize it? And how do I continue to build on it? Because if you look at your areas of development, there will always be a marginal move that you will make on that year on year. But if you continue to hold on to what your strengths are, because that is what also is an anchor for a lot of employees in the organization. I think that whole viewpoint has changed to not look at only one end of the continuum, but the other end of the continuum as well.
Last question.
Hello. My name is Colonel Ravi Mandla. I work with a real estate company. I just thought that we must invest in two important things. One is the recruitments, the policy of recruitments, like Samir was bringing it out. You have to spend more time with that boy rather than half an hour when you're going for a campus placement. You have to actually judge him, whether he's going to be staying with you for long, or is he going to contribute to the organization or not. Samir, it's like this in the SSB, they used to have 5 days. Of course, we cannot, spend those times. But then there is a psychologist, there is a, president and all those people, and everybody sees it from their point of view. When we go to the campus, we must have somebody who would gauge these students from that aspect. And second is the training part. You very rightly brought out that if somebody is going to, let's say, UK or US for a training, and he might just quit us the moment he, acquires that knowledge. Then you said in the second breath that we should take on a person who's most trustworthy. Let's trust him, he'll come back. We have to create a situation where we send a chap who's actually trustworthy for this training so that he comes back and he contributes to us. So these are the two things which I thought should be relevant to us.
So the second point, I completely agree. That's exactly what I said, that and if you trust your employees, you would kind of encourage them and send the meritorious one because you would trust them.
Yeah.
On the first point, I completely agree, and I
we must spend some more time with the boys.
And I do agree with the SSB. I do understand the SSB process as well, which is like a it's like a detailed assessment center. If we talk of assessment center which has come in, I think the key thing over there is to recruit based on the competency. Oftentimes, us in HR, when we recruit, we try to do a cookie cutter fit. That if you have worked in finance, you can come and join us in finance, etc. because you do. We say we are hiring for competency, but we don't really focus so much on competency. So that's my add-on to that it is important to understand the competency. So I hired a couple of years ago someone in my HR team who had worked in the business side, and then had set up her own firm in the talent acquisition space, but had not done line HR work. Because I felt that person has strong stakeholder engagement skills and can actually relate very well with the client understanding and be effective HR business partner, and that's an area that I can kind of have in research. So I think at times it is fixing for the competency, but you need to invest time, as you rightly said.
Thank you so much.
And also on the lighter note, we can request the professor that they give us time on campuses to do all of that.
Well, thank you very much for the segue. I have always felt that your standard elite campus hiring process is more like a cattle fair, where you do a speed dating, whether it's half an hour or day 0 or day X, day Y. I think when it comes to talent acquisition, I think we already are in the process of setting up a process where they can intern with organizations for longer. I was just discussing with you earlier that our standard model of the 2-month internship during summer, by the time even either side gets to know each other, it's time to go back to campus. I think there are innovations happening. We are doing it at Bridge, where people can spend up to 6 months in internship working on, as I said, one criteria would be to have meaty projects or meaningful project, meaningful engagement even within that 6 months, where I think it gives both sides a longer latitude to evaluate, assess each other as to would the fit work out. The emergence, as I've been repeating for the 3rd time here, that the emergence of digital, for example, online methodologies could, even for your working executives, if you are either if they want to be sort of engaged on a different platform, yet be at the workplace, there are all kinds of methodologies possible. And for that, going back to your earlier question, Calvin, I think we probably have very exciting times to look forward to for both industry and academia to work sort of symbiotically, where some of these, what we call matching mechanisms can be optimized for both parties, both for the employer as well as for the aspirants.
So with that beautiful note, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we've spoken much enough. So from our side and from your side as well, I'd like to say thank you very much. Unless any one of us will want to conclude. So to close, before Ivan comes up, I think just to close, I think making engagement work is just not about processes, policies, programs, making that needle work. It was very interesting to hear, at least especially people from the defense services, people from manufacturing. So I think we're learning, we're taking much, much more. And more importantly, what I'm hearing is that, okay, importantly for us as leaders is to listen, to empathize, and more importantly, we want to really engage with our own employees, is to at least extend that human touch. So from our side over here, thank you very much, and I hope we get a chance to interact more.
Thank you for being an engaging audience as well, because we had planned for 1.5 hours, but it's over 2 hours, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists, for the enlightening discussion and for sharing your views. I'm sure each one of us is taking back a lot of valuable insights. I now invite Mr. Rajeshwar Mukhopadhyay, Head Sales North India, Shine.com, to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed panelists. We start with Dr. Vivek Banerjee. A big round of applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. Calvin. Mr. Sameer Khanna. And Mr. Amit Malik. Dear panelists, can I request you for a group photograph, please, on the stage. Meanwhile, I would now like to welcome Ms. Meenakshi Batra for the closing address. Meenakshi is an accomplished and widely recognized professional with over 24 years of experience in the international development, corporate social responsibility, and not-for-profit sector. Dear panelists, may I please request you to take your seats off stage? Thanks a lot. Currently, Meenakshi is the CEO of Charities Aid Foundation, CAF India, which focuses on promoting giving in India. CAF supports all causes, and some of its key focus areas include education, health, water, environment, livelihood, women, children, and disability. Since joining CAF India, Meenakshi has successfully led the organization to triple the size of philanthropic funding for the not-for-profit sector and has put in place a dynamic team to focus on future growth of philanthropy in India. Ms. Batra, please.
So is it showing there? Okay, good evening. I know that it's very close to the dinner. It's past dinner time for some, but dinner is waiting for us, so I won't keep you too long here. I think it was really enlightening for me to hear the panel here today on the ways that they're using to engage the employees, and how that engagement is also a driving force for the employees who work for a company. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the ways of employee engagement that CAF India is working on. So we work with about 22 corporates on a program which we call Give As You Earn. It's a payroll giving program. So basically what a payroll giving program is that it enables the employees to give their time, their money that they want to share with other communities on social causes, and also their skills for a social good. Sameer touched upon it a little bit, and also Amit touched upon it. So I'm going to expand some of that concept a little bit more. And matched giving boosts that employee moral, as well as it qualifies for CSR, which is something that a lot of corporates now have to do. If they fall into a particular category, 2% of that goes to share to CSR. It's an easy way to promote employee engagement. Basically, the payroll giving provides a lot of motivation and engagement. Pride in the company. We work with these companies, and when we seek their feedback, they talk about how proud they feel about their company supporting them to engage with the social causes. the corporates have also reported that it also helps with the retention of the employees. And the whole payroll program can be easily linked with, awards and rewards opportunity for the employees. As I mentioned, it's also part of a broader CSR strategy. It enables employees to channel their support for social causes. And it also definitely helps establish the company's credentials as a socially responsible business. So before I move on to the details of this, I'll just talk a little bit about Charities Aid Foundation as a company, as an organization. So we are a not-for-profit organization. Our vision is to build a society motivated to give ever more effectively and to help transform lives and communities. Our mission is to promote and support strategic giving. Basically, our purpose in the country is to promote the whole culture of giving, and for that we come up with a variety of services, products, which enable people, whether they are working in a company or even individuals, as well as corporates, philanthropists, to engage with that. To date, basically we have partnered with about 300 companies and about 220,000 individuals who have donated money for a variety of causes. CAF, Charities Aid Foundation, is actually part of a global alliance where we work in about 9 countries. And in India, we were started in 1998, so we are in about 18th, 19th year of our operation. Globally, we work with 10,000 companies to enable them to engage with social causes. However, we are pretty sort of young in India, so we are currently working with about 300 corporates. So we operate in 23 states. Northeast is a little bit left out because of the lack of much interest in that area from the donor side, but that's something we really want to promote. We have about 1,600 NGOs, not-for-profit organizations, spread across the country who have been validated by CAF, and those are our partners on the ground. So far, we have raised about 222 crores, and we have delivered projects with impact. 5,800 grants have been made with the support of our corporate as well as individual donor partners to date. So some of our service portfolios include corporate CSR giving, CSR advisory also, where we work with corporates to help them plan, ideate, and then execute their philanthropic or CSR programs. We also have individual giving, as I spoke, payroll giving, give as you earn, NGO validation. A question a lot of donors ask, there are so many NGOs, who do I work with? How do I choose one NGO? How do I choose a cause? So that is where we also step in and we provide support in validating, doing a very thorough due diligence of the organization. Disaster support. Right now we have a Marathwada appeal out. The drought in Marathwada is pretty severe this year. And similarly, in Jammu and Kashmir, in the Chennai flood, Nepal, we did work with our NGO partners and our donors on those programs. Communication support. Once a program has been designed, delivered, it's very important for corporates and the donors to tell their story to their stakeholders. So we do provide support with that. Volunteering program is built into both CSR as well as payroll program. So that's something we have a structure around it, and we provide meaningful volunteering as well as pro bono support that the employees and the corporate can provide as an organization. Capacity building of our NGO partners, capacity building of the corporate CSR people on what are the good projects to take up, what are the development sector practices. So sharing more knowledge on that is something that we do on an ongoing basis. And then, of course, once decisions have been taken, NGOs have been identified, validated, we do provide support to handhold the entire grant-making process. We monitor projects, we report back, and closing projects, learning from those projects is something that we do. Coming to the GAY process, which is quite a similar process, but it has some additional steps. So GAY is give as you earn. So basically, once a company decides that they want to engage their employees in donating their time, money, as well as their skills on pro bono basis in specific identified areas, we would work with the team in the corporate to design their intervention model. Then we will work with them to choose an NGO or a cause that they want to support. Once that is done, we will also design an annual calendar, because giving, I mean, there are various aspects to giving. We would work with them, you know, what are the important dates for them? When do they want to do certain things? And then campaign, launches, enrollment, pledges, etc. are done. Then, of course, once all of that is completed, deliverables have been decided on what will be, you know, given to the NGOs, whether it's time or money, volunteering activities. We would manage that process, monitoring, and then, of course, the communication and promotion within the company. So some of the benefits of the whole employee giving program, as I mentioned, it's quite a good program for keeping the retention up. Keep the employees motivated. In some cases, corporates would also match. If an employee gives 100 rupees, corporate would also give 100 rupees, which can be part of their CSR program. And that's quite motivating. I mean, then the employee feels that my company is supporting me for a cause that I feel quite close to. Volunteering, of course, is something that is part of it, and employees do get to work in a very, very structured manner with the NGOs. It's also a very easy and cost-effective way, and of course the tax exemption is also a big benefit. As soon as a donation is made, tax certificates are issued to the employee. Very quickly, just to sum it up, easy to give, any amount can be given. There are no fixed amounts, any amount can be given, tax benefits are there. NGO and causes of the employee choice, we can recommend, but we don't go and say that, you know, fund this organization or support this organization with volunteering. The employees can choose whether they want to work on with children, with women's empowerment, or whatever those issues are. Volunteering, of course, and then it complements the CSR for the corporate. The program is very easy to use. There is an online platform that I'm going to touch upon, which is on the top, Give for Good. And the culture and the benefit goes beyond increment. That's something that we have been discussing this evening. In terms of what CAF delivers is the monitoring, reporting, pledges, support with the pledges, launches, and then, of course, the compliance, accountability, and tax receipts. So I'm going to just touch very briefly on a study that has been done by Deloitte on a payroll giving program. So you will see the bars which are longer out. Basically, they are for employees who are giving on a regular basis, and then there are employees who are not giving on regular basis, or they never give. So basically, the employees have rated, those who give have rated the corporate culture as very positive. They feel very loyal towards the company, feel very proud to work for the company, and are satisfied with their career progression, satisfied with the employer, and would recommend their company to a friend. So these are some of the results from the Deloitte study on payroll giving program. So to date, basically in our Give As You Earn program, we have worked with about 132,000 employees working with various companies. We have supported 2,500 NGOs, and about 59 crore has been donated by these employees over the years, over the last 5 years. And 20 lakh people have been reached with this support, and a variety of causes, right from children's issues to women's issues to livelihood to addressing the disaster issues. And then, of course, geographically, we have reached out to about 23 states. Here are some examples of two of our partners. One is Microsoft, which actually reached a figure of 92% enrollment in the Give As You Earn program. And some of the causes that are supported are highlighted. the amount of money as well as the number of people who supported that. So there's a huge variety there, right from environment to children to medical care to animal care, livelihoods. So the whole variety there. While Accenture focuses on livelihoods program, and there again, I mean, there is a huge variety. So disability, people with disability, their livelihoods is quite an important area and how they are impacting the families. So just two examples of some of our partners. We also have come up with a new online platform which would actually make giving through this platform very, very easy. It will be very easy to manage the data, the employee records. Employees can come on the online platform and check what donations they have made, what impact is there, what kind of reports have been generated, how NGOs have used the funding, etc. So this platform is basically a technology-based program which helps with information management and to get the real-time data. Some of our partners are listed here who are engaged with us on payroll giving program, right from Microsoft, PepsiCo, RBS, Bank of America. So that's in brief about this way of engaging employees, on the social causes. Thank you very much. That I can answer. Yes. Yes, absolutely, and that's a very, very important question. So I think it starts with our selection of the NGOs. Once the NGOs are the NGOs that we select, we do a very, very thorough due diligence of those organizations. We ensure that they are compliant, and then we have a network of auditors. While our own team goes and monitors the program impact, but the real story actually comes out, when you audit the accounts. So we do have this auditors network, and they do a very, very thorough job with looking at what has been done. And then we do a lot of focus group discussions with the communities to understand what has happened. So we do keep a very close eye on that. Plus, when the employees volunteer, they visit the organizations that they are supporting. They also come back with a feedback on what's happening. So that's a very important point. It's very important to keep the accountability. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Batra. I would now like to thank all our sponsors for the 40th Hindustan Times Shine HR Conclave in partnership with Bridge School of Management. Our associate sponsor is Charities Aid Foundation India, official service partner ANI Technologies Ola Cabs, recruitment partner meetcareer.com, insights partner NHRDN, employee engagement partner AdLabs Entertainment Limited. Our event partners are Sharp Business Systems India Limited, Edenred India Private Limited, Winitech HR Consultants. Thank you all for attending the conclave and the patience you have shown all the while. Please join us for drinks and dinner now. Thank you.
We are Charities Aid Foundation India, and our mission is to create a society motivated to give ever more effectively and transform lives and communities. Our employee giving program, Give As You Earn, is a simple and effective way of giving back to the society. It allows employees to donate to a cause close to their heart. Don't you want to open a payslip where your contribution makes you feel good